Today we'll talk about sleep. Sleep is very important. 35% of people do not get more than 7 hours of sleep, which is inadequate. The other studies show that it is optimal to have between 7 and 8 hours of sleep a night. Okay, there are some rare exceptions, but we're talking about vast majority of the patients. So why do we need to sleep? Well, during the sleep, we actually restore our body, we recover our memory, we clean our body. So it's extraordinarily important for us to sleep. In fact, people who do not sleep actually are not able to perform normally. People who did not sleep over 8 hours of sleep have been tested, and the testing showed that it was equivalent to basically be drunk with a level of 0.05. Remember, 0.08 is a legal driving limit. And if you would not sleep for 24 hours, then your performance on concentration and memory and everything else would be equivalent to you being drunk with a level of 0.1. So in reality, if you skip a night of sleep, you basically essentially is drunk. Kind of same thing. So certainly we don't want to be drunk all the time, or we don't want to be low performing all the time. So let's talk about the sleep per se first, and then we'll talk about the dangers of not sleeping well. So our sleep is actually divided into 4 different phases. The first 2 phases are relatively superficial sleep. During that time, our body relaxes and we're kind of preparing to go to more important parts of the sleep. So the first stage 1 and stage 2 are very superficial sleep. Stage number 3 is a deep sleep, and that's when our brain removes all the waste from the cells, our immune system recovers and restores itself. So it's extraordinarily important. And there is much more deep sleep in early parts of the night. The 4th stage is called REM sleep. That's the stage where we see all the dreaming, all the kind of action in our brain happens. But it's also the time when we incorporate and move our memories from short-term to long-term. So if we don't sleep adequately, we will have significant issues with memory. Okay? So, and this stage of sleep is much more prevalent during the later parts of the night. So the whole cycle takes about 90 minutes. It varies between 90 and 110 minutes. And typically we should get at least 5 to 6 cycles during the night. If we don't get enough cycles, then we create a sleep debt. And at some point, our body will need to pay for it. So if you don't have enough sleep, very commonly you'll have very poor concentration, very impaired short-term memory, impaired judgment, impaired reaction time, irritability, potentially increased pain, and increased stress. Your body would be under stress. So think about it. If you are stressed during the daytime and then you don't sleep, then you'll be much more stressed next day, and that will be a vicious cycle that will continue until something else will break. Okay? So if we don't have enough sleep, very commonly we'll have a weaker immune system. That's why people who don't sleep enough very commonly will get colds. They will have much higher levels of obesity. That's related to cortisol that is released during the stress. Our cortisol will make us eat more. So very commonly people who sleep deprived have massive cravings for sweets. Then we have much more chances for anxiety and depression. We have way much more chances to develop diabetes. We actually have higher risks of infertility, and we also have pretty significant risk of heart disease. So it is not that benign. From the neurological standpoint, patients who slept less than 6 hours a night had a much higher risk of developing dementia in future. So it is extraordinarily, obviously important to fall asleep and sleep during the night. A lot of people are so-called night owls. When they go to bed at midnight or after midnight and they think that they get adequate sleep because they in bed for 8 hours. Well, there were studies that show that if you go to bed after 12, even though you sleep for 8 hours, you're still not getting all the cycles that you need to go through, all the number of cycles rather, and your body is still getting sleep deprived. In addition, as I told you in the beginning of this video, deep sleep is much more prevalent in the early nights. Typically between 10 and 12 at night is the kind of most productive sleep. So it is very, very important to go to bed about 10 o'clock in the evening, plus minus half an hour. So if you're a so-called night owl, try to change your time very slowly, about half an hour at a time, and just try to go to bed a little bit earlier, okay? In next videos, we will talk a little bit more about sleep hygiene. What do we need to do before sleep to help us to sleep adequately? Because there are a lot of patients who have problems with insomnia. They are either not able to fall asleep, or they not able to keep themselves asleep at night. So we'll talk about some strategies during the next video. Subscribe to this channel. I'll be delivering much more information to you guys, and I hope you enjoy it.